Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we are diving into a hilarious, chaotic, one-act play by the one and only Anton Chekhov called The Proposal. It's a story about a very simple goal, a marriage proposal, and how it can go spectacularly, comically wrong. So, to really get a feel for this play, we're not going to start at the beginning. Oh, no. We're jumping right into the middle of the action, where things have already flown completely off the rails for our poor hero. Yep, you heard that right. This is our main character, Ivan Lomov, and he is screaming his head off. But who's he screaming at? Not some bitter rival or sworn enemy. Nope, he's yelling at the very woman he showed up to ask to marry him. So how on earth did we get here? How does a simple, romantic proposal get completely hijacked by an argument over a tiny piece of land? Well, to understand the brilliant absurdity of it all, we've got to rewind a little and see the world these characters are living in. All right, let's set the stage. We are in late 19th century Russia. The playwright, Anton Chekhov, was an absolute master of poking fun at the society of his time, a world with some very, very strict rules, especially when it came to marriage. And here's the key to the whole thing. The play is a farce. It's basically a comedy that cranks everything up to an 11, using exaggeration to make a really sharp point. And Chekhov's target here? It's the wealthy upper class and their obsession with one thing: gaining more land and more money. And get this is what makes it so genius. Chekhov wasn't just making this stuff up. Real Russian wedding traditions at the time actually involved these kinds of playful conflicts and paying money. The groom might have to literally buy his way to the bride. So Chekhov just took that real-world custom and blew it up to a ridiculous extreme for the stage. So, who are the people at the heart of all this chaos? Well, Chekhov himself describes them perfectly as quarrelsome people. And let me tell you, that is the understatement of this century. These three were practically born to argue. First up, on the left, you've got Ivan Lomov. He's a landowner, but he's also a walking bundle of nerves. Seriously, he suffers from heart palpitations, he's anxious, he's suspicious, the whole 9 yards. And on the right is his neighbor, Stepan Chubukov, just as rich and just as ready for a fight. And then we have Natalya, Chubukov's daughter. Now, the play might call her an excellent housekeeper, but don't let that fool you for a second. This woman is sharp, she's incredibly stubborn, and trust me, she is not afraid to go toe-to-toe with anyone in an argument. But here's the thing. Lomov didn't come over looking for a fight. Not at all. He's arrived dressed to the nines in his finest evening clothes, because he is on a very specific, and for him, a very, very nerve-wracking mission. After a whole lot of hemming and hawing and basically tripping over his own words, he finally manages to get it out. He blurts out his intention to her father, Chubukov. And Chubukov's reaction: he is thrilled, absolutely over the moon. This is exactly the kind of match he wanted. Not because of love, you understand, but because it makes perfect financial sense. He gives Lomov a big hug and rushes off to get his daughter. So while he's alone, we get a little peek inside Lomov's head, and it's not exactly romantic. He's basically going down a checklist. He's 35, a critical age, she calls it. He needs a quiet life for his health. And Natalya? Well, she's an excellent housekeeper. She's well-educated, not bad-looking. She'll do. For him, this is a business decision. Okay, so the stage is perfectly set. Dad's given his blessing. The anxious groom is ready, sort of. All that's left is the actual proposal. But what happens when Natalya walks into the room is, well, it's definitely not a proposal. Lomov, trying to make a little small talk to lead into the big question, just casually mentions how their family properties border each other. And then he drops the fateful phrase, "my Oxen Meadows." And right there, that's it. That's the fatal error that sends everything spiraling. And Natalya, being Natalya, pounces immediately. She cuts him right off. "Excuse me," she says, "my Oxen Meadows? But are they really yours?" And just like that, the proposal is dead in the water before it even had a chance. The argument, on the other hand, is just getting started. And there you have it. The entire purpose of his visit, the whole reason he put on that fancy suit and worked up his courage, is instantly forgotten. Poof, gone, replaced by a shouting match over a worthless strip of land.
Natalya is not having any of it. She does not care about his family history or some documents his aunt's grandmother gave him. As far as she's concerned, those meadows have been in her family for ages, and that's that. End of story. And what about Lomov, the guy who desperately needs a quiet and regular life? He's gone. He forgets all about his heart palpitations, forgets about the proposal, and stubbornly digs in his heels. Mine. And from there, it just explodes. They're both getting more and more heated, screaming about a meadow that's worth maybe 300 rubles, practically nothing. But you see, it's not about the land's value anymore. It's about the principle of the thing.
And just when you think it can't get any more ridiculous, her dad, Chubukov, comes back in. Now, you'd expect him to be the peacemaker, right? Wrong. He jumps right into the fray, siding with his daughter. He has completely forgotten that just 5 minutes ago, he was calling Lomov his future son.
So what is the point of all this madness? What is Chekhov trying to tell us with this hilarious train wreck of a proposal? Well, this is where we get to the heart of the play.
See, Chekhov is using this ridiculous fight to show us that for these people, their own pride and their obsession with property are way, way more important than any human connection, like love or partnership. They can't even get through a marriage proposal without getting into a fight over who owns what.
And that really leaves us with the central brilliant question the play asks. When you treat marriage like a business merger, what becomes the most valuable asset in the negotiation? It's not each other, it's the land that lies between them.